Okay, we're live. Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 134 of the Security Podcast on the In30 Network. I'm Chaim Cohen, and we have Tom. And today we were going to talk about some privacy checkups, what to do for the new year, because you're probably off next week. You're probably sick of your family. But Yahoo just lost a lot of data, and we need to bring you up to speed on what's going on. So, Tom, what's going on?
Turns out that Yahoo has just admitted that in 2013 they lost 1 billion passwords. But these aren't, the nice passwords where they're like, oh yeah, everything's in bcrypt, so they'll take a whole lot of time to crack, and someone's really got to hate you to crack bcrypt. No, these were MD5 passwords. But Tom, you say, Yahoo's a big company. Surely they're salting their hashes. Yeah, no, not so much. Straight up MD5 sums of the passwords. So these will be cracked and in the open for the vast majority of passwords in that list in no time. I bet they're already, it happened in 2013. They've got all of the passwords.
I was going to say it would probably be done before we finish this episode.
Yeah. But Yahoo just now admitted to it. Their last big breach, they said, we think it was a state-sponsored attack, but now they're saying, yeah, it looks like the same people that hacked us the first time came back and got a lot more data later. So
it sounds like this happened at the same time when they put in their government snooping thing to grab all the data. It's around the same time.
It is around the same time. There's no corroboration. There's no official causality link between the two. But yes, it does fall within.
But this is the internet, Tom. If I say it, it must be true.
So we can start. We need to have like a conspiracy cast where we just say the worst imaginable security conspiracies around and have people believe them. Like Norton is a good antivirus, but something like that's just not really believable.
I mean, it's another password leak. The problem is it wasn't just username and passwords. It was literally everything. It was the entire database. Because at this point, people are saying, you know what? I don't really care. My Yahoo password, okay, fine, whatever. And it goes back to my question, who cares that your Gawker password gets leaked out? But Yahoo's a big deal. That's probably your main email provider. So
yeah, I know. Before Gmail came out, I was all about Yahoo services. Yahoo everything for me.
And Yahoo, for the most part, if you want to be retro, is still very good. It's just that Google with Gmail really kicked butt. So then, if you're going to do that, you might as well use the calendar. Then you had Android phones, and you went from there, and everything just worked all together.
Yeah. So in this leak, Yahoo lost for 1 billion accounts, username, which is the email address, password, that's in MD5, so those are completely cracked. They lost, in some cases, encrypted security question and answer, in some cases, unencrypted security question and answer. So if you are relying on real answers to your security questions at all, or the same fake answers for everything, you can assume those are compromised. Just a general PSA tip on security questions. You're already using a password manager because we keep telling you to use password managers. So whenever someone asks me, like a site I sign up for, asks me for a security question, I just had to do this recently. Use your password manager, generate a new password, and paste it in the notes field. Say write down the question like, my best friend's mother's maiden name is, and then I've got a random hash. Which really throws customer service people if you interact with a human and they use that for verification. First off, not a good idea. Second off, sometimes the humans will read that back to you and say, I think my computer is doing something weird because your mother's maiden name looks really weird. And I said, oh, is it this? And I list off my 32 character random string and they go, yeah, that's her name? I said, that's really my mother's name. She's a random hash.
Then you explain to them why that's important. So
yeah,
it looks like
stuff like this doesn't happen.
It looks like, and I can't corroborate the truthiness of this site, but I typed into Google, how many users does Yahoo have? And it says total Yahoo monthly active users. as of February of this year, so it's a little old. 1 billion. So everyone who is an active user got their stuff stolen. All right. How many Yahoo Mail versions? Mail users 280 million. So I don't know how that's probably current active ones. So they probably got everything. So 1 billion is probably a good number to say that everyone who's ever used Yahoo is stuck.
I would assume that, and I think I read somewhere that there are roughly 1 billion people on the internet currently, which is a poor number. We should really work to getting the internet everywhere.
No, well, Facebook has more than that, so I don't know. I think it's
right, a bit more than 1 billion.
So let's see. I'm gonna recovery. So I'm logging into my Yahoo account. I want to see if I got one of these letters, but I do have a recovery email as. Ooh, okay, as Gmail and a phone number. But as we speak, I got an email from Yahoo and trying to log in saying unexpected sign in.
Hold on, wait, you're still using this? We had no idea.
Okay, I got the notice of data breach. Right now in my Yahoo, what happened, it told us what information, it says MD5. I will say that that's good to say, hey, look, bad things have happened. We can't hide anything else from you.
Yeah, so I do have to say, Yahoo coming forward with the details of this breach is a good thing. Let's not, burn them at the stake for this because they did come forward. That said, this breach happened in 2013. Now, I assume that they just found out about this because, they're looking at their security and auditing a little bit closer after all the negative press. So let's not jump to conclusions and say they were hiding something. I'm going to give Yahoo the benefit of the doubt against everything that we should, possibly do, and say that, they did the right thing here by disclosing. Now, storing passwords in MD5 in 2013, that's not a good thing. There's nowhere near that being a good thing. Not salting hashes. We've been doing that for forever in web app world. I mean, that's just something you do. It's kind of like having a password. You're like, oh, how do I store this? Oh, cool. I'm going to salt these hashes or use bcrypt or do something other than MD5. It's been that way for 20 years, but
here's again, the problem is that after the old breach, after we found out that the government was taking everything, people got mad and they tried to leave. And Yahoo put into effect that you can't forward your mail out. That's what usually you do. You switch emails, and then you have the old server system forward you all mail, so you can at least respond and see. And you do it for whatever, a month, 2 months, a year, and then you just keep on telling your friends and family, "No, I changed my email. I'm no longer going to reply from this one." To which they never listen, but they stopped that. But it's bad all around. But you know what it is? Somebody said this. Imagine you're the security person of your company and you said, tell your boss, I need $1 million. And that's a small number. Why? I want to make things secure. Will our customers see it? Nope. Will we see it? Nope. Will there be anything public facing? Nope. So you want us $1 million and no change will happen. And usually then the answer is no, we're not going to do it this year. Ask me next year.
The security, from the perspective of the security-minded employee from the inside looking out, it's a really stupid hard job that we just don't see as end users of the service. And I know about this firsthand because, it does. Even if it doesn't take money, because a lot of these things are, let's change this configuration setting and make things a little bit better. Well, will it change the way this department does this? Yes, it will change slightly. Will it, change the interface? Will it take any time? Because, we've got this many people and a whole bunch of projects to get done. We just don't have enough people for the amount of stuff we have to do every day. We can't afford to take time out to get something that may or may not benefit us at all. Because security, it's a losing game, always. And I don't want to get, all doom and gloom about security and making things safe, but you as the defender have to be correct every single time. You have to win every single battle. The attacker has to win only once, and he's got it. And that's the hard part about security is you have to do a whole lot of things to try to minimize your risk. but it never truly goes away.
And so I'm again in my Yahoo account, and it does now offer me the chance to disable my security questions, but it doesn't ask for anything else. I guess what it's going to do is if you're going to forget your password, it's going to use one of your recovery things. So my phone number, my backup email address. I can turn on two-factor, but again, I don't use Yahoo Mail for anything other than to hold the name. So
yeah, that's basically why I'm there, is just to keep the name held. So if you are a Yahoo user at all, you can operate under the assumption that you have been compromised. Go change your password to something else random. Just, go into your password manager, generate something, save it. Change those security questions because they're out there now. If you have reused that password, because I ran into this a couple years ago. One of the many times Yahoo got hacked and all their stuff went out, where it was back before password managers were really common, and I was using sort of a tiered password system, and my Yahoo account was considered one of my trash accounts, and I'd shared that with a lot of other things. So I had to change a whole bunch of passwords on a whole bunch of sites. So if you are reusing it, know that password and the security questions are public. Go change it all everywhere you've used those, because account reuse is definitely a tactic.
And the good thing is, like we said, you're probably off next week and you'll have some time to do it. And it'll lead us into next week's podcast of different things that you should look for while you're doing all this. By the way, Yahoo is a LastPass partner we will automatically change your password X number of days. So I can say, hey, automatically auto change password, and it will change my password, whatever, every 90 days to the point that I don't even know it. So I have no security questions because I just disabled them. Or I put junk in there, and LastPass is auto changing my passwords.
Which is great, because we really need to figure out, the time frame between Yahoo hacks and set our timers on that. So every X number of days, we can be rest assured that Yahoo will leak a bunch of passwords. We should just change them before then.
I mean,
it'll be great.
So it goes back to they probably used MD5 because they never changed password systems from when they started to get big. Probably in what, like 97? That's probably when they came out with Yahoo Mail, 98. Yeah. And I feel like they had a good opportunity to send out an email that says, oh, by the way, in 6 months, in 3 months, in 2 months, in 1 month, you are required to change your password. You can give it the same thing, but you will be taken to the site where you are to change your password for all purposes, and then do the new whatever salted hash they wanted to do.
Well, you can actually, if you are the web service, you don't even have to re-encrypt. I don't want to say encrypt because it's not really encryption. It's hashing. It's a one-way function. It's different for good reasons. But you can actually do that seamlessly on the back end. So if Google wanted to change to scrypt instead of bcrypt on their back end or whatever they're using today, all they would do is just set a flag, and when you log in, it compares the old value in the database. It runs through the old hashing function, says, yeah, this is this person, log them in. It also takes a copy of that plain text and runs it through bcrypt or whatever the new hashing algorithm they're moving to, and then stores that new value in the database and erases the old one. And that way, you have now upgraded your password security seamlessly without the user having to go through the change password thing.
And that's exactly what we want to see. But you did want to bring up, so how do you properly secure, let's say, Yahoo, or insert generic service here?
Okay, so the best way to sort of protect these things, isolate them, because everything will get hacked eventually. And if it'll either go away and Google will kill off that service that you love, or it'll get hacked and dump all the data. Those are the two eventual possibilities. Of course, use a password manager. I like 32-character random strings. You can make that bigger. You can make it smaller. Try to stay above 20. I know there are a lot of sites out there, especially a lot of banks, that say, oh, yeah, you have to have all lowercase characters, and it's 8 characters to get into your online bank and manage your money. Yeah, that's great. Good on you. But security questions, generate a random hash, generate a random password in your password manager, save it to the notes field for that site. So if you ever need it, you can log in to LastPass or 1Password or KeyPass, grab that note, and now you've got your security answers. And don't reuse information. Password managers make this really simple. Silo that information. Use a unique password for everything. It's once you have a password manager, it becomes really easy. And actually, using a password manager has made my life easier because I don't have to type in passwords anymore. And I hate typing in good passwords because they're annoying.
What's it called? I leave my YubiKey on my keychain, which I put in the little bowl next to the door. So I'm sitting on my laptop, and my laptop logs me out of LastPass. I have to get up, find my keychain, put it in, do all that stuff, which is a royal pain. But again, it gives me the option to save it. But if I'm saving it, I might as well just have the password in there all the time. So I force myself to do this once a week or something like that to re-authenticate just to make sure. But so the problem with what other people say to do is make your own security questions and again find the answer. The problem is if you use the same security question somewhere else and they get that database, then your security question doesn't matter other than the fact that it's not the actual answer. So if you were going to say what's your mother's maiden name and you chose your dog's name for everything, all the security answers are my dog's name. Somebody gets that and they see it twice, they're going to know. They're going to know, oh, you chose Rover for all your answers. I bet you that's everywhere else.
So this isn't really a secret in the security community. Lots of people have talked about this. But if you wanted to get someone's mother's maiden name, or the model of their first car, or where they went to high school, that stuff is in publicly accessible databases. Well, sort of public. You do have to have, in some cases, a private investigator license. Luckily, in the US, in a couple states, there are actually online registries where you can pay some money, fill out a couple forms, and you can become, without any sort of test or legal background or security clearance, you can become a certified public investigator of that state, which carries over to all other states because your targets will move from state to state. So they honor these licenses just about everywhere. You can then log into these databases with your brand new, license number because you're now an official public investigator and get all of that information for a small fee. It's not really a secret in the security community. It happens all the time for phishing. There are people who use it to dox other people. It's used for a lot of good things and a lot of bad things. Just know that if you're answering security questions truthfully, other people will find those answers. They're not that secret.
So I have an easier way to do that. Again, I'm not trying to find the people that are my peers, but remember my profession. My profession starts with students who are 18, who are driving their first car, who know the school mascot, who probably can figure out their mother's maiden name and their birthday. Because a lot of people will wish somebody a happy birthday in front of the class. Well, at that point, you know the year, you know the date. You know what car they drive because you go to school with them. You know their mascot. You know the town they live in. You know their zip code. You know their first crush. You know just about everything about them. And it's hard to explain this to kids because as soon as you explain it, guess what they're going to do? They're going to do it while I'm talking. They're going to try and get this information of the person sitting next to them just because they can.
That's brilliant. So if you don't want to use the password manager, I'm throwing in random gibberish as my answers. It gets a little dicey because you do have to remember what you put in, but lie. And just lie. My mother's maiden name was Kirk. Yes, as in like Captain Kirk. She's totally married to Captain Kirk. That's my father. And my high school mascot was a turd sandwich. But you have to remember that, and not only that, if you don't reuse them across sites, you will forget them. So if Yahoo leaks all your security questions, for instance, just saying, totally theoretical, then those are now compromised, and you have to make up totally new lies and keep those straight. A password manager is probably the easiest way to manage all this. But if you can't or don't use one for whatever reason, at the very least, do not be honest with security questions.
We need to move beyond passwords. I think all of this is saying that passwords clearly don't work because not everyone sees their website as not important or really important. This Gawker link, I'm going to log in. I'm going to have a 64-character password because I don't want the bad guys posting bad things on this account. Says no one ever. What they do is they make it monkey and they give it to all their friends, or same with the Netflix password. They give that to all their friends. And then when it gets leaked, that password is there. People are not taking passwords seriously. Nothing has changed in the last 5 years. I mean, we do, but somebody said somebody else will pay for it. When it's all said and done, somebody else will pay for it.
I'd like to do an internet survey of the most shared password of all time. And it's probably, I would imagine Netflix is probably in the top 5 of that list of the passwords that you share with people the most often. Yeah, it's just because everyone's got the Netflix password. I've shared my Netflix password with registered users that are legally obligated or legally allowed to use that account.
I mean,
not illegally.
Yeah, I mean, I know I basically see it run rampant. All my students say, oh yeah, we shared Netflix passwords, but to Netflix credit, you have to buy the number of simultaneous screens that you can watch on. So if you start giving it to everybody, somebody's going to have to change it. And what I don't understand is now that you have their username and password, you might as well just change it yourself.
And then you get to do that great holiday thing where you have the Netflix purge where you're like, all right. You're trying to watch a movie. You sit down. You've got, your dinner. It's nice and hot and ready. You're ready to sit down and like binge watch Daredevil or something. And you click OK and Netflix comes up and it says, yeah, there are too many people watching. So you do the Netflix purge of changing the password and waiting for just everything to break loose.
And then you get those calls and everything else. But again, I'll keep on saying we got to move beyond passwords. We don't know what it is yet. There's a couple of implementations, but we have to move on past the password. And I think the answer is going to be something that you have, like that universal two-factor where your password is just some 4-digit PIN, but then you have to do something with your phone or whatever, your keys or whatever else.
Yeah, and there are a couple of projects that are really, really trying to make this happen. The FIDO Alliance is one of the big ones. And then there's GRC's Squirrel, which is going through standardization right now. So we'll see where that ends up. Speaking of passwords, I do want to get into the new draft NIST password specification. So NIST is an American governmental agency that gives tech recommendations to all other government agencies. And they say, hey, you should probably build things in this way, and this is how you secure things, and this is how you do this. Unfortunately, security people have been fighting against NIST recommendations, especially in the case of passwords, for a very long time. NIST are the people who said, hey, every X amount of days, you should change your password, and you should mandate these character types in your password. They have now completely gone back on that. So the biggest changes in their password specification and their password recommendations is that you as the admin, you should not impose what they call composition rules on memorized secrets, which would be you should not require passwords to have uppercase, lowercase, numbers, symbols. You should just let a password be whatever it wants to be, anything. It could be all lowercase. They don't care. And the second biggest thing, and probably the most important recommendation, and this is going to have an actual verifiable, measurable impact, betterment of our security amongst different government agencies and businesses. Admins should not require memorized secrets to be changed arbitrarily, meaning periodically, unless there's evidence of compromise or the authenticator or subscriber requests a change. Basically, they're saying, hey, that change password every 60 days, 90 days, every 30 days, don't do that anymore. It's a bad idea. Security people have been saying this for ages because you get people that'll put, summer 2014, fall 2014, winter 2014, and they just continue the cycle. We now have really bad incrementing passwords that systems happily accept. because they are technically different enough, and they're awful. They're terrible. It hurts everyone.
A certain
So
state agency, a certain state agency by me, very local to me, put that in their training manual. When IT requests a password every month, just change the month, just first name, month, last name, which was probably 60% of the passwords.
Yeah, it's terrible. And even if your training documents don't explicitly say that, people figure it out really quickly. I know in several businesses that I've worked for, it's either, password and incrementing number, which is a little bit safer, or, last name or initials, the month and the year. And they do that all the time. I manage these people. I was the security guy to these people, and those are the passwords they picked because we arbitrarily decided to follow some stupid standard. It's a bad idea. I fought against it. I lost. And now NIST has come out and they said, yeah, maybe the InfoSec community has a point. Changing passwords periodically isn't such a good idea. Because if you make people choose a new password every 90 days, they're not choosing a random password. They're just going to increment something, and it makes it more unsafe for everyone. Well, so this is a great thing.
While we have you as running IT, well, how do you feel about single sign-on? Because our school is going through that.
I like single sign-on, but you have to be careful with it. So usually how single sign-on works is you've got a service account in like a web app or a utility or an application, and it manages the sign-on requests for all of the users. You have to make sure you don't disable rate limiting for the account. So you have to make sure that whatever application you're putting in isn't going to be a brute force vector to your Active Directory, your domain, because if they're not rate limiting, for instance, if they're not going to properly send back a denied verification, and if AD is set to never lock out accounts, people can just hammer that web endpoint all day long and try to brute force an account or two. So it's really important to manage that, but I will say that it's so much better than having users memorize a different password for every single site. Technically, that's more secure if you're using something like a password manager. But in reality, when most people aren't, what happens is they put the name of the website and their name, or they rely on summer 2014 to get into everything. So regardless, most people are going to use the same password. I like single sign-on. You can really centralize control, and more importantly, you centralize logging. You can see if someone's being targeted for a brute force. You can see if something is attacking your services from the same endpoint. It's really easy to centralize your security and logging that way.
Our school is making us activate this password manager. Basically, if you lock out, you can reset your own password with the slew of really simple security questions. So I'm going to do what you said. I'm going to put into LastPass the answer to my father's middle name. And I don't know, 64 characters of random garbage should do the trick. And
that's quite an interesting name there.
Hey, I really want them to repeat that to me, just in case. So it's...
Yeah, this said, I actually I interacted with PayPal customer service at one point, and they asked me the answer to my security question, and I said, "Oh, I didn't know you guys actually read this. It's a bunch of garbage." He said, "Yeah, okay, you're Tom," which is not the right answer. That's not the right way to do that. I realize it's not going to be the most common security answer, but a lot of times customer service will use that as verification. If you are managing customer service, make the people repeat back every single character. I had to call Rackspace the other day, and the guy on the phone made me repeat back every single character of my 64 character length line of junk that I put in for my security question, which is great. That's exactly what he's supposed to do. It annoyed me, but it annoyed me in the right way. The PayPal guy, no, that's not the way to manage that.
I'm going to generate 4. I don't know why I need 3 security questions for this, but I don't know why I just can't call IT and say, "Can you just reset my password?" Like, I don't understand what the problem is.
And you probably still can. I guarantee what this is to try to drive down the number of password reset calls. Because if you've ever worked in IT, if anyone listening has ever worked in IT, you know the vast majority of your job is dealing with the stupid little things on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of that are password resets. So if you can find a way to kind of minimize password resets or get people to do it themselves, it makes your job so much easier.
You know how you minimize the password resets? Stop resetting people's password. Every year we come in and they just randomly reset everyone's password. And it's like, why? Why are you making me reset my password? Change it every 160 days rather than 180 days. Like, just come on.
Hopefully, now that NIST recommendations are going out, we'll start to see, you know, these sort of weird, bad password laws that, you know, we've been railing against since the dawn of time start to go away and become things of the past. Like, oh, I don't know, MD5 sums.
Just, I don't know. Anyway, we're doing this. I say we wrap it up, and we'll do our topic next week of either holiday gifts or just things that you should do when you're off for that last week for the new year.
So, we'll have a bunch of good stuff to show you guys.
Anyway, we'll see everyone next week, and have a good rest of this week. Bye, everybody.
See everyone.
Let's stop.